Oh, I am late. Just how the 49ers were late to basically everything today. Wow. Also, I am wearing sunglasses because that loss was so horrific that I needed extra dark sunglasses to even watch it because it was so bad. No, let's run the intro and then, you know, I'll say to everyone how terrible my team is, really. That is my intro video, and now I will go and die. All right, let's start the show, everyone. Welcome in. The Camper Report is live. It is Sunday night, and the 49ers, about 4 hours ago, gave up one of the most embarrassing losses I have ever experienced in my life. This probably tops the loss that we had 2 weeks ago against the Rams. For the reason of me being late, well, StreamYard is being a massive, I'm not going to say what they're being, but they've basically upgraded their plans and they're a lot more expensive, and I ran out of storage to stream with on StreamYard, so I had to go through and delete every single one of my streams. So that took 10 minutes. But yes, we're here. The Niners suffer a terrible loss to the Cardinals. And honestly, I am dead inside because I like when my team loses because it makes for much better content. I like to freak out. My most popular video was when the 49ers lost the Super Bowl and I had my post-game stream and I absolutely lost it. That was a popular video as well. But I can't forget, I actually forgot to put this banner in. If you guys want to call in, all the information is on in the description. So go and do that because I want to hear what your guys' thoughts were on this Niners game, if you watched it, and really just the rest of the NFL. I don't care. Let's talk football. But while I'm waiting for maybe somebody to call in, I'm going to go over some talking points from today's game, because there's kind of a lot to talk about. This was very much a tale of two halves. The 49ers did a lot of things great in the first half and then completely abandoned all of them. And that's where I kind of have to start this stream. The unprepared Philip Sellers, go Pack go. Yeah, they are a lot better than the 49ers this year. I'll just establish that. Let's get off to the first topic, though. And this is a topic where, how can you not talk about this? The 49ers unprepared defense. I think we saw through this entire game how the 49ers did some things well on defense, but a lot of times they just seemed like they didn't know what the Cardinals were going to do. I'm going to look through my notes because I took a lot. The first thing I have to kind of look at is, let's start early in the game. Kyler Murray, the Cardinals' first touchdown was a 50-yard touchdown off of a QB RPO. Kyler Murray keeps it himself, goes around the outside. The 49ers completely lose contain. He runs for a 50-yard touchdown. So Kyler Murray is probably a top 5 running quarterback in this league. How are they not prepared for that at all? And maybe the 49ers were, but now that the 49ers don't have Dre Greenlaw, which is a huge tone setter on defense, they are a slow defense. They get beat all the time with speed. They react slowly to things. So when Kyler Murray takes off for that 50-yard touchdown, this kind of begged the question, why the fuck aren't we prepared to contain one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, I don't know. I don't know. That's like, what the hell? So, that was kind of first where I was like, this defense was not prepared at all. Another play that I'm going to bring up, 13 minutes, 59 seconds, one of the first plays that the Cardinals ran in the first quarter. The Cardinals there was two tight ends lined up on the offensive line. The Cardinals sent one up the seam, and both Campbell and Lenore, which, by the way, more on Campbell in a minute, because that guy was terrible. Campbell and Lenore both go for the tight end running up the seam, and then the Cardinals' top tight end, Trey McBride, casually just leaks out to the outside, leaks up the sideline, and Kyler Murray wide open to Trey McBride. That's a 15-yard gain. And it begs the question, like, even if they were in zone, how do you mix up a coverage like that? It was just a simple dump-off pass that Trey McBride turned into 15 yards because no one was covering him. Wide open. And you saw that all game. Like, the 49ers are so flat-footed in so many areas, especially in that second level, that there's like, last year, every single time a running back or a tight end would get a screen pass, there would be 6 49ers players swarming the ball carrier. Today, it's like you can dump it off any which way, and they're not going to do a damn thing about it because our defense just isn't prepared at all. And then I was saying Campbell. I mean, let's quickly get to Campbell, our linebacker. 59, as you know, let me just see what other notes I had on him. I mean, 14 minutes, 15 seconds in the fourth quarter. The Cardinals threw a strike to Wilson. I believe it was like a third. I believe it was fourth down. Was it a fourth down? They throw a strike to Wilson. It's like a fourth down and short. The Niners throw a strike to Wilson, and they were in zone. The Niners were in zone. Wilson runs out, just does a quick comeback route, runs out 4 yards, easy dump off pass. I believe they get the first down. And Campbell in that play was basically playing like a zone. And I mean, this was my reaction to Campbell a lot of times this game. Just standing in the zone, not moving at all, not reading anything, not covering anyone. He was covering the turf. And like in this play, Michael Wilson, and this is the entire game, Michael Wilson just picks a soft spot in the zone. Devondre Campbell doesn't at all read it. And then so he was terrible and has been terrible all season. I don't know why he's on the field. Another reason why, what the hell is our defense? God damn, they are unprepared. Let's see what else here. We also had Isaac Yiadom. And this is maybe another coverage problem that our defensive coordinator, Sorensen and Brandon Staley, need to get better at. And I don't think they will, because their entire game plan just got exposed today. Yiadom, on the most important play of the game, lets Marvin Harrison one-on-one with Marvin Harrison, gets completely smoked. I believe this was on the last drive that the Cardinals kicked a field goal on to get them up by 1. I believe it was a third down and long, and it was a zone. But the thing is, like, my question is, Marvin Harrison, yes, he was quiet in this game. The Niners kind of took that for granted. They kind of said, okay, Marvin Harrison is quiet in this game. I feel like early in the game, the Niners were putting a lot of attention on making sure Marvin Harrison didn't break out. But then later in this game, Marvin Harrison didn't have a huge game, but he's still their best wide receiver. And so what I would have done, again, on this play where he beat Yadam to the outside one-on-one to essentially put the Cardinals in field goal position, you can tell that Yadam wasn't on Marvin Harrison right away. It was a zone, and Marvin Harrison just cut right through the zone. But why are you playing zone in the most important play of the game? And another thing, if you recognize that Marvin Harrison is the Cardinals' number one wide receiver, why are you not sending Charvarius Ward to trail him the entire game? I don't care if it's zone. I don't care if it's man. In this particular play, you've got, there's something saying, well, we've got to play zone the entire game. That's our identity. No, you can't just stick to your guns, stick to your identity. You have to realize, okay, on this play, I believe it was a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. We're going to send Charvarius Ward on the Arizona Cardinals' best route runner, Marvin Harrison, and he's not going to get a catch like that. I mean, it was a jump ball catch, and Marvin Harrison just outplayed Yadam, which Yadam shouldn't have been on him in the first place, nor should he be on the field. So just unprepared defense in this game. And then another thing that I kind of was thinking of just now, and I'll get to the 49ers offense and their red zone offense because that was also atrocious. But one thing I'll get to is there was no disguise blitzes. Well, not a ton of, the Niners got home sometimes. Don't get me wrong. My camera is shaking so bad. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just trying to recollect my thoughts. A lot of times you saw when the Niners would bring in a blitz or even a disguise of blitz, what I saw from the Cardinals when they disguised blitzes, especially in the red zone with Brock Purdy, they would bring in a linebacker coming up the middle, and then they would drop back a defensive lineman. With the Niners, when they would disguise blitzes, they would put 7 players on the line of scrimmage, 2 linebackers, and then they would drop those 2 linebackers back into coverage. So there was no trickery. I mean, there was definitely disguised blitzes or not disguised blitzes, but there was no trickery. They never put a defensive lineman back in coverage or lined up 7 and then rushed a linebacker, took a defensive lineman and put him in coverage. They never did that. There was no creativity in what the Niners did the entire game. So I don't know how. I mean, this defense gives up 24 points to a Cardinals team. I mean, their offense is all right, but there's a few things that stand out to me. The Niners, and I was going to post a video yesterday about trades that the Niners need to make at the deadline. I think it's becoming abundantly clear what trades the Niners need to make. I mean, they need to get someone that is a big body and has power in the middle of their defensive line, because that's one thing. Another point that I have to make with this defense is, I mean, they were just getting pushed around late in that game, and it's not, oh, we're just having an off day. It's something that's happened through the entire season so far. The Niners have done a terrible job at obviously containing the run, but they just don't have any big bodies in the middle there in their defensive line, which is obviously affecting their run defense. And I'm just they need to make a trade for somebody I saw a name out there on Twitter. I saw Campbell, the Dolphins. What is it? Hold on. What's his name? Wait, is it? Hold on a second. Let me pull up. Hold on. Let me pull up what his name was, because you guys will know it when I the name when I show it to you guys. It is. They need to trade for some type of Calais Campbell. There we go. They need to trade for somebody like Calais Campbell or DJ Jones. Bring DJ Jones back from the Broncos. They need somebody that's big that won't get pushed around in the middle. And Kalia Davis, I think, played today, but I mean, he hardly has any experience. And, so That's another issue. I mean, just they made what's his name? The Cardinals running back. They made the Cardinals running back look like Marshall Faulk, which I'm sorry to say. I mean, I know he's good, but he is no Marshall Faulk. And at the end of that game, I feel like every time they handed him the ball, it was a guaranteed 9 or 10 yards. Like, that's just unacceptable. So, let's get to some of the comments before I move on. I think I covered most of the things on my defensive. Yeah, I mean, I believe that's what you guys probably got the point there. But it's not even like Kyler Murray didn't even play that well in this. Like, he played all right and he made some incredible plays, Kyler Murray. But as far as passing the ball goes, I mean, let's look at his numbers real quick. As far as passing the ball goes, he was 19 for 30, which isn't bad, but 195 yards. But I'll tell you how. And this was a point that I because when I was putting in my notes, I said key stats. And this is a one that kind of came up to me immediately in the key stats column is the Cardinals knew going into this game how they were going to win this game. Being physical, running the ball, and running the ball effectively, but also not making a ton of mistakes. They obviously threw one interception in this game. Kyler Murray threw an interception, but that's it, right? Compared to Purdy's 2 interceptions, which we'll get to Purdy in a minute. But the Cardinals only committed 1 penalty in this game, which was an offside. So they knew going into this game, how we're going to win this is we're going to play clean football. We're not going to give the Niners many chances. And last year, that wouldn't have worked against the Niners because the Niners were a talented team. But this year, and well coached, this year, especially the defense, what I see with the defense is this year, they're not as well coached. They're not as well prepared. So all a team has to do to beat the Niners is play clean football and let the Niners defense especially and offense beat themselves because that's how they do it. So that's kind of something that I've seen. And it's not even like the Cardinals were that impressive on offense. They literally just said, we're not going to make that many mistakes and the Niners are going to beat themselves. So, Calvins and Hobbs says, pretty sure Murray was going to run around and their defense is going to blitz. This is not rocket science. Yeah. Well, and that's another thing with the defense. We're getting back to the topic of the defense. A lot of times, especially what I saw with James Conner, there we go. I can't remember. I can't believe I forgot his name, but James Conner, it's almost like the Niners, they knew that James Conner was going to run the ball, but they would almost overcommit to James Conner. Like, as soon as James Conner would touch the ball and go up the middle, I saw this a lot in the fourth quarter. There would be 8 Niners guys swarming to the Cardinals offensive line, but they would all just run into a brick wall. And they were not coordinated with how they were tackling. It's like you'd see 7 Niners guys just swarming to the offensive line, and every single one of them would just either get completely swallowed up or they would just not take the right angle on tackling the running back. I mean, this team is so undisciplined, so badly coached that I'm at a loss for words of how bad we played especially the fourth quarter. Top to bottom, but I don't know how you can miss so many tackles, be so undisciplined, and then still hang your hat that you're a top 5 defense, which they are absolutely not. Which, by the way, Tom Brady, this was my first time actually hearing him commentate or be the announcer, and shit, I actually really like how because he's a lot more informative than any other announcer that I've heard. The only thing that I loved though during this game was Tom Brady. Anytime a player would make a big time play, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, like I don't know, the emotion that he puts into announcing is so funny, but it's good. It's good. It's something that's missing in the world of announcing today. And me and the Dream, shout out to you. The Niners offense has no identity and just hasn't been good without CMC. 1-7 in the red zone, just horrendous. Guys, if you're watching this right now, I'm gonna get to his point because yeah, that's a big topic of what tonight's going to be about. And if you guys follow me on Twitter, what I tweeted, Kyle Shanahan has a hard on for not running the ball in the fourth quarter. I'm going to get to that too. Calvin Hobbs says, yeah, they scored TDs instead of field goals in the red zone, and we aren't even talking about the bad defense or special teams run the ball down their throats. I will say the one bright spot. Now, the special teams wasn't good, but at least they got a touchdown today. That was impressive off of the blocked field goal. So Campbell has been horrible. Let D. Winters start the game. Next game, yeah, I mean, dude, at this point, it's so clear. 4th and 5, and Murray was throwing off his back foot to Harrison, keep the drive going. Yes, that's what I was talking about. And what's so weird is I just don't know why you wouldn't put your top cornerback man-to-man on Harrison on a 4th and 5. The Niners were playing zone, which was so weird. And that zone allowed Yadam to be one-on-one with Marvin Harrison, who, yes, he had been quiet the entire game, but with a receiver like Marvin Harrison, you can't just be like, yeah, we're just going to, not at all care about him, because he's the type of receiver that is still really fucking good and it can still make plays if you leave him alone. Sorensen and Staley defense is horrid. Kyle takes no responsibility. I didn't watch his presser, but I'm sure he didn't. Focus on securing O-line. Tired of seeing McKivitz and Brendel get beat over and over. Offense scores in the red zone, and no one is talking about the defense. Yeah. So that's probably a good transition. Let's start with the offense. Actually, I have a few parts to this. Kyle Shanasuck. And what I mean by that is I'm just going to walk you through, because I went back and watched the highlights. I was actually working for the first half of this game. I was at work, and then so I had to go back and watch a lot of highlights. But I kind of went back and looked at a lot of the plays, every single red zone trip that the Niners took and how they failed on a 3rd down or 4th down. So let's go to my red zone notes. Basically, I'm getting mixed up here. So I'm just trying to, okay. So we're going into the red zone now, and let's kind of talk about the first kind of, I'm just trying to think. So the first red zone trip, or one of the red zone trips that the Niners took, 7 minutes, 14 seconds left in the second quarter. It's a 3rd down at Arizona's 2. The Niners, now looking at my note, this is kind of what I take away from that. The big takeaway for all the Niners red zone trips, the big takeaway that I got from that is the Niners were just so uncreative. Like, for example, this play, Deebo Samuel is in the backfield. Now, if you're a defense and you see Deebo Samuel in the backfield, that used to be that used to be a huge threat. Deebo Samuel used to be a huge threat in the backfield. But now he's not a good runner. Like, he's not good at running the ball. And he's not necessarily a good pass catcher either. He's washed past his prime. But Kyle Shanahan has a hard-on for him. I'm going to use that word quite a bit. I should probably use a better word. But Kyle Shanahan doesn't care. Obviously, on that play, the Cardinals blitz, I believe, drop back and just kind of wait for Brock Purdy to throw the ball, because they knew that there was no respect to Deebo in the backfield on that play. So that was super just uncreative. And then you look at other red zone, Jordan Mason in the 4th quarter, Obviously, that famous fumble, that kind of screwed us over a little bit. But I don't even care about the Jordan Mason fumble. If you look at the formation, what the 49ers ran on that play, it's obviously fourth quarter, 6:16 left. The Niners have kind of made it. The Niners were under Brock Purdy under center. They line up Juszczyk, and then they line up Mason. Now, and then there's like, it's basically like a offensive line that you would see, a line that you would see when you're just, the team knows you're going to run the ball because every single player was on the offensive line. The Niners clearly are doing a run play because Mason, especially when you're in that formation, you're under center with Mason in the backfield and Kyle Juszczyk also in the backfield. A team, when they're looking at that formation, you're not going to throw the ball. And so the Cardinals know it's a run to Mason because the Niners have run it a crap ton earlier in that. Like, they've run that play, that exact outside zone play with Mason on in the backfield a ton the entire game. The Cardinals read it. They swarm Mason. There's 7 guys. The play does not work at all. There's 7 guys on Mason, and then obviously he fumbles, as you guys know. But one thing that the Niners could have done in that exact play is they could have done a play action. That's one thing that I don't get in this game is why did the 49ers go away from the play action pass in this game? In the first half, they ran it, 7-8 times, and every single time it worked because the Arizona Cardinals defense is not good. Like, they're like a bottom 5 defense. So the fact that you don't do a play action on that play and instead you're going to run it to Mason is baffling. They should have faked it to Mason, done a play action, and had George Kittle or Jawan Jennings running wide open in the end zone because that's what would have happened. The Cardinals, these red zone trips that the 49ers made, Amin said 1 for 7 in the red zone. Yes, they were 1 for 7. These red zone trips that the Niners made, every single time, it was just uncreative, stupid football. And then I'm trying to think of any other. I think I had maybe a few more. Yeah, 12:46 left in the second quarter. Well, actually, that was defense. I was saying, like, okay, so this is another red zone trip here. Kyle Shanahan puts Juszczyk. I believe this was another red zone trip. He puts Juszczyk in the backfield, just Juszczyk. And I think they were at like the 7 or 8 yard line. And of course, when you put Juszczyk in the backfield, how many times had the 49ers run it to Juszczyk? Unless they're on like the 1 yard line, right? So you put Juszczyk in the backfield, the Cardinals automatically know that it's going to be a pass. And of course it is a pass, but it's not a good one. And I believe that the Niners didn't convert on that either. So bottom line, they're not good without CMC on the in the red zone trips. Kyle Shanahan just seems to be so vanilla and just what you see is what you get, which is completely on him because he isn't the offensive coordinator, so he can't cast that blame on anyone else. But I was getting to thinking because when I was trying to think, okay, so why are the 49ers so bad in the red zone without CMC? Well, this is the reason. CMC was an easy check down target in the red zone. And the 49ers were able to scheme ways to just continuously check it down or just a quick pass to CMC in the red zone. And since he's such a good running back, he was going to break 4 tackles and take it into the end zone. You don't need a master play caller to do that. You just need an all-pro running back to do that. And so now that he's gone, the Niners don't have a good check down option and they can no longer really run. They can no longer be good in the red zone because they don't have a check down option. They don't have a guy out of the backfield who you can just throw a screen to and he can break 4 tackles and score a touchdown. So That's kind of when I was thinking, why are they so bad? That is the reason why. And Deebo Samuel can't do that anymore because he seemed to lost everything that he used to have. Real quick, guys, I am going to take a quick break because I need to let some airflow into my room. I need to open my window. I'm getting hot. There we go. Man, I am getting heated talking about this atrocious game. But yeah, so Kyle Shanahan, don't know what the hell he was doing. And then let's talk about the O-line, which is kind of another extension of why Kyle Shanahan and really just the entire front office should be fired. So let's go back to the last play of the game. And this is kind of a straightforward play. When Brock Purdy threw that interception, which we'll get to Brock Purdy. I'm going to save him for last. I think the last play was not on Brock Purdy. I mean, yes, he kind of forced that throw, but what else can you do? Your team is driving. You don't have a kicker, which, by the way, that's a little bit unfortunate. The Niners are trying to leave a game-winning drive, and Jake Moody is injured, which, by the way, complete waste of third-round pick because Jake Moody, he's not even that good at kicking field goals, nor can he stay healthy. So, again, I ask, what does he actually do here? And then, there's so many. I should start a segment in my show. What do these 49ers players actually do here? Isaac Yiadom, what the fuck does he do here except screw up? Devondre Campbell, what the hell does he do here except be a statue in zone coverage, cover turf, and get beat continuously? Kyle Juszczyk, what the fuck does he actually do here except be a body on the field and a decoy that no one seems to care about? The defense doesn't care about because he never will get the ball anyways. And then my fifth, what the fuck does he actually do here, is Nick Sorensen, because our defense has only been worse since he took over as the defensive coordinator. I digress, though. So let's get to the offensive line. And actually, a sixth, what the fuck does he do here, is Colton McKivitz, our right tackle, who is terrible. And so I was told, I've talked to a lot of people that know formations, know how to, that actually were former offensive linemen. And they say, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts with Chris Sims, who looks at film and studies film. And I know different techniques you should have as an offensive lineman that I've been told. People who study film say this. On that last play that Brock Purdy throws that interception, obviously it gets tipped up. He tries to force it in there. It gets tipped up in the air by a free rusher coming from the right side. What basically happened was the Cardinals smartly say, we're going to send a blitz on the right side through the middle. And what you're supposed to do as a right tackle, Colton McKivitz. So Jordan Mason, there's two guys coming free up. It's a 6-man rush, I think. There's two guys coming. There's obviously the defensive end, and then there's two other guys who came through the right side of the offensive line, up the middle through the right side of the offensive line. Jordan Mason picks up one, but then another guy just comes free rushing to Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy tries to quick throw it, and then he tips, the Cardinals guy tips the ball up in the air. It gets intercepted. But what I was really told and what I've heard as an offensive lineman, instead of taking the outside gap, the defensive end, you're supposed to take whoever is free rushing up the middle. You're supposed to take the A gap or A gap up the middle. So Jordan Mason picks up the first guy, and then the second guy comes running straight through. Instead of picking up the second guy running up the middle, Colton McKivitz takes the defensive end coming on the true right side, coming up the, I believe it's B gap, or I don't know, I get them mixed up. But he was supposed to take the inside rusher. You're always, as an offensive lineman, you're always supposed to take the inside blitzer, no matter what. Because then the quarterback has time to, and doesn't, the reason why you're supposed to take the inside blitzer is because it kind of limits where the quarterback can throw the ball because there's a guy coming straight towards you if they're blitzing right up the middle. If there's a defensive end coming from the side, the quarterback can kind of sidestep, scramble out to the right, can kind of scramble out, throw the ball. Like, I don't know if that made sense, but as an offensive lineman, you're always supposed to take the free rusher to the inside, not the outside. And so again, I ask again, what does Colton McKivitz do here? I had another note because he's so bad. He's like a stiff brick. I mean, every time the Cardinals would blitz it, again, I will give credit to the Cardinals defensive coordinator because every single time the Cardinals would blitz, I saw a lot of stunts and twists in this game from the defensive line. But every time the Cardinals would blitz or twist, Colton McKivitz would just be completely lost. He doesn't move. He's like a stiff brick that just sits there. And every time he has to like twist one way or the other, he's like, oh my God, what do I do? It's terrible. He's so bad. Man, he is bad. So that's another thing. It's like, why do the 49ers why did they give him an extension? Why do the 49ers allow a guy like that to be even on the field? I know he's cheap, but like this right here today is a perfect example of an offensive lineman ruining your game. He ruined the game. He completely ended the game. And you don't want somebody like that messing up when the game is on the line. Precisely why they should invest more in the offensive line. It's the Super Bowl all over again with Chris Jones rushing free to the quarterback. Yup. I mean, everyone who knows football knows what I'm talking about. You're not supposed to let a free rusher come straight up the middle. So, what else do we have? Yeah, we still haven't even gotten to Brock Purdy, and I'm almost 40 minutes in. Wow. Have I really had that unprepared defense banner up the entire show? If you guys want to call in, and maybe you don't have a video that you can set up, I also have my number in the description. You can call into a number in the description. You can call into. I have, if you want to call in, be on the stream. Actually, on the stream, there's also a link to that. So if you guys have any thoughts on the game, feel free. Let's see what else we've got. So I've covered the offense, well, the red zone especially. I've particularly well, and that's another thing. Let's quickly get to the offense real quick, though. Like, there were so many. So, okay, I want to get to, because I said Kyle Shanahan. Why every time, like in this game in the fourth quarter too, he went away from the run game. And I tweeted this. Why does Kyle Shanahan have such a hard-on for running the ball when you're up? Like a big thing, when you're up by 2 scores, you're supposed to play very physical football and you're supposed to eat up the clock. And it's not even like the Niners weren't having success with running the ball. Jordan Mason had like 3 big runs in this game, averaged 6.4 yards per carry, and he only gets 14 carries, which, okay, that's fine. He's not a bell cow. Well, he is kind of a bell cow back. He's playing it all per level. But Kyle Shanahan seems to have this obsession with when you have a huge lead. I mean, you saw it today. You saw it in the Super Bowl. When you have a huge lead, he just goes away from the run, which was working. The Cardinals defense is terrible, so it's like, I don't get that. And then, I just, when you have a running back playing at all per level, why would you go away from him? I know. And okay, I get he fumbled in the red zone, but if you look at the game, previously, you look at like leading up until that fumble in this game, the Niners were running him a lot. And then they kind of stopped running it to him briefly. And then they obviously ran it to him and he got fumbled the ball. I truly believe that when you give the player, when the player gets cold, when he doesn't get the ball for quite a while, he kind of starts to get out of rhythm, cold a little bit, and he tends to make mistakes because he hasn't touched the ball in a while. And I know that that's kind of a psychology part of football, but when you see a player or a player that's on fire not touch the ball for a while, and then they touch the ball, they kind of get cold. They are not on fire anymore because they haven't touched the ball in a while. They're not getting touches. I think that's kind of what happened to Jordan Mason. Obviously, that's a psychology thing. You can't prove that, but I think he kind of got cold because the Niners just went away from him for a short time. My brother is in here. What's up to you? And then, we were saying, I'm just trying to think, do I have anything else on Kyle Shanahan before I get on to Brock Purdy, which I have a little bit to say on him as well. I had a video that I was going to put out yesterday, but it'll probably wait till the end of the week. And in that video, it's basically trades that the Niners should make before the deadline. And in that video, I said, Brock Purdy's playing at an amazing level. Go and get Devontae Adams. This is turning into a pass first team. Right? Okay, so let's get to Brock Purdy. This is turning into a pass first team. We need to get a receiver that can emulate that. And I'm going to have to change the script to that video because I was writing that script and I said that, and I'm going to have to change the script because he's didn't play all that great today. And I mean, there were moments that he had. I mean, let me just quickly, there were moments that he had, he was 19 for 35, 244 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. Obviously the second interception, he was terrible in the red zone. Second interception, but honestly, the Niners' terribleness in the red zone, as I said before, probably Kyle Shanahan's fault, I would say. But nevertheless, that second interception, not completely his fault. But, I'm just trying to look. Where is my section of Brock Purdy here? I mean, he had some great moments. There was a play early in the game where he pump faked one side of the field, delivered a dart over the middle to George Kittle. And that was like on a third down. He had some nice scrambles. You look 7 minutes, 10 seconds left in the third quarter. Ran to one side of the field, ran to the other side, took off running, picked up a first down. But there was also just times in this game where he just played hero ball. And you're like, I know you're a guy trying to get a contract extension, but why the heck are you trying to do too much? Like, he was scrambling around at times during this game, which is great, but then he was going head first into defenders. I'm like, I mean, we've already seen in previous seasons why QB injuries are such a bad thing. Why are you trying to dive head first? I mean, you're scrambling, you're doing a great thing, but you're diving head first, shoulder first into a mound of Cardinal defenders when you're our only good quarterback. I mean, trust me, Brandon Allen is not a quarterback that you want to see play anytime soon for the 49ers. So calm down, Brock Purdy, please. And I was listening to Grant Cohn's stream before I hopped on this stream, and he kind of brought up a good point. He was saying last year, Brock Purdy kind of abided by the system and did a lot less because he had Sam Darnold backing him up, right? And Sam Darnold's a better backup. This year, to quote Grant Cohn, Brock Purdy is like YOLO because, okay, if I play bad, you're not going to bench me. My backup is Brandon Allen. There's no way I'm getting benched because Brandon Allen sucks. He's not a backup quarterback in this league. And last year it was a lot more like, hey, if I play bad, maybe they replace me with with Sam Darnold, because we're seeing what Sam Darnold can do. I mean, he's not a super MVP quarterback, but man, he has physical traits, which Brock Purdy does not have. Brock Purdy does, but it's like he doesn't have a strong arm to fit it in tight windows. It's just, so he played pretty good in the first half, but then the second half comes along, and in the third quarter, you see, and I'm sorry, it took a while to get to mention his first interception, but 11 minutes, 53 seconds left in the third quarter, throws an interception, but that interception was a terrible interception. He drops back, pump fakes, hesitates. I call this the Jimmy special. Pump fake. Oh my God. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Oh my God. No one is open. I am just going to force it into this tight window and let somebody try and go get it. I call it a Jimmy-esque throw. So he hesitates, drops back, hesitates, feel the pressure. And instead of like taking a sack, he kind of tries to dump it down. I believe it was to George Kittle, who was like not at all open. And he just like throws a stupid pick. So, okay, that's not great. And you saw that a lot in the second half. He was running around trying to play hero ball. And it's like, why? And that's what Jimmy Garoppolo kind of tended to do a lot. And I know I don't want to bring him up as like an example, but I mean, man, you do not need to be doing all that, man. You don't need to be taking these risks, going in shoulder head first while you're running and scrambling just so you could potentially get injured. Like, it's a frustrating thing. Let's see. I'm just trying to think of anything else I can mention on him. I mean, now this is more of how Kyle Shanahan maybe prepares him. A lot of times he was unprepared for the Cardinals blitzes, which, hey, I'll give hats off to them. They did a really good job at disguising their blitzes today. I will say that. You saw a lot of stunts, twists. You saw a lot of, hey, we're going to line up, 7 players on the defensive line, but we're going to drop back, 2 defensive linemen and put in and rush a linebacker and a cornerback from the edge. Or we're going to, I'm just trying to think of any other examples. But, I mean, something that the Niners defense did not do. They did not mix up blitzes at all. They didn't do anything creative defensively, which, I mean, fire Nick Sorensen already. God damn, that man is terrible. Trying to think. I think that's about it. But yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy was not good in this game, especially in the second quarter. It really was, because, I mean, Niners in the second quarter were actually executing. They had some decent, like, they were moving the ball, and it's not like they were not moving the ball in the second half, but anytime you don't score a single point in the second half, it begs the question of who's to blame. And I think in this case, a big part of the blame, obviously, is Kyle Shanahan, as I talked about, but also Brock Purdy. And yeah, I mean, the bright spot in this game was Brandon Ayuk. He finally had a good game. He had like 150 yards. He came to play, but no one else on that offense came to play. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much covered it all. Most of my notes have been said. Yeah, I'm disappointed because we scored 16 points as an offense. 7 of those points was off of that blocked field goal that we returned for a touchdown, which I've almost never seen that, because our special teams continuously year after year is so bad. But I'm just disappointed because we score 16 points as an offense, and I don't care if McCaffrey is out. You still have a running back playing at a great level. You have, it's not even the talent. It's that you're going away from certain concepts in the game that have worked the entire game, like running the ball, like the play action. The play action was working so well. Why don't you stick to that in the second half? You're not preparing your offensive line. You're not preparing your quarterback for disguised blitzes that the Arizona Cardinals might send your way, which kind of seems like to be the theme with this 49ers offense, because the Chiefs did that all the time in the Super Bowl and they destroyed the 49ers on offense. So I think the book is out really on Kyle Shanahan's offensive scheme. I think that's kind of what is happening. And I think the book is out. Obviously, once Christian McCaffrey, our offense will look better, but I also just never see our offense looking the same, because I think a lot of teams have figured it out. But I wanted to bring up one last point before I get out of here. Calvin Hobbs says real quick, he says, that was a hand to the face mask that was not called on the Mason fumble. Yes, I agree. But I saw some no calls on the Niners side where they should have probably been flagged and they weren't. So, yeah. But I'm not because here's the thing. You can't be coming up with excuses like that of why we lost this game because that was an utter meltdown. And bad teams are not good at closing out games. And the 49ers are a bad team and they're not good at closing out a game. Now, one maybe final two topics that I have to kind of say or mention before we get out of here. So the Commanders, and my brother mentioned this to me. And I knew this already, but he kind of reminded me of this. What the hell is happening? Oh. He reminded me that the Commanders are 4-1 this season. Who is the Commanders GM? Who drafted? I mean, we all know that Dan Quinn is not a offensive guy. He's their head coach. Who drafted Jaden Daniels? Well, Adam Peters, the 49ers, ex-49ers head of player personnel, Adam Peters, he's basically was in charge of the 49ers, everything like scouting the 49ers players that they drafted. A big part of it. Now, I know that John Lynch was too, but Adam Peters goes off to the Commanders, becomes the Commanders GM, general manager, drafts probably right now the best quarterback in the draft in Jaden Daniels, and the Commanders are 4-1, and all their draft picks right now are hitting. And so we're feeling that loss. Losing Adam Peters is a massive loss. And then the other topic that you have to bring up is, are the 49ers, are they not a contender? At this point, there's a few things. Like I just mentioned, Adam Peters, his departure, what he's done so far in Washington, we're seeing that could have been a big part. He could have been a big part to why we were so good for so many years. Another thing, we can't close out games. The Niners were good at that last year. And whether or not, the thing that I think even if Christian McCaffrey comes back, it's going to be, I think, week 8 or 9, maybe earlier if they get desperate. But the thing that the 49ers, I don't think Christian McCaffrey ever returns to form like he was last year. I just think that he double Achilles tendonitis. I don't think he's going to save our team. We're not good at closing out games. Our defense is undisciplined. And clearly, if you looked at Nick Bosa's press conference, Nick Bosa, like, I believe said a comment we just weren't prepared. The defensive coordinator, we just weren't prepared schematically. That's literally what he said in his presser. And so it begs the question of, okay, the Niners defense is starting to lose faith in Nick Sorensen and Brandon Staley, which kind of begs the question of, if you're losing faith in your defensive coordinators, that means your defense is not going to play with intensity. So that's one thing. Are the Niners a contender? Well, that's another point of why they're not. Christian McCaffrey is not going to go back to true form. I don't think so this season. Another reason, our offensive line stinks, and it seems like teams are catching up to that fact more and more week after week. Our red zone offense is dog shit. Last in the league. One of the worst red zone offenses out there. So, okay, those factors alone, I mean, you match them up against the best teams in the NFC. Lions, okay, they've had their bumps and bruises, but they're better, I think, at this point than the Niners. Commanders, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to look back at film of a lot of these teams, but I'm just saying that there is so many holes on this team, and I don't know. I think a big thing you look for, if you're looking for a contender, you look for a team that is disciplined and can close out games, and the Niners are neither. But yeah, let's get out of here. Again, guys, if you guys want to call in, there is my number through the phone. You want to call in? There's my number in the description, or a number in the description, and then the StreamYard link is also in the description. But other than that, I'll probably get out of here. They need to win on Thursday, and they will be tied for first in the division. Yeah, I mean, we're not out of it, but I mean, after today, how I don't think we're beating the Seahawks. Keep in mind that the Seahawks their head coach is McDonald, or is that his name? Hold on. Seahawks head coach. Mike McDonald. Yes. Their head coach, Mike McDonald, was the defensive coordinator for the Ravens last year. And the Ravens defense, if you guys recall, Christmas Day completely embarrassed the Niners offense. So Mike McDonald knows how to game plan versus Kyle Shanahan. That's not like, I expect a very slow offensive day from the Niners next on Thursday. That's one. And then two, I mean, the way we've been playing, I do not guarantee that the Niners are winning that game. I mean, we might, but it's a long shot. If I were a betting man, and assuming that the Niners might have a slight advantage over the Seahawks, betting wise, if I were a betting man, which I'm not, 17 years old, but if I were a betting man, and let's say the Seahawks are projected to lose by, 3 points, I would pick the under on that. I would pick the Seahawks to win, because I mean, it's like free money. The way the Niners are playing right now, I don't know if they could beat a bottom 5 team, let alone the Chiefs or the Lions. So yeah, I mean, that's how bad this second half of this game was today. But yeah, I mean, if we win, then great. We're right back in it. Our division isn't great, but at the same time, I mean, I don't think we're much better at this current moment of time, and I think the Rams will get better when they get Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back. I just think that the 49ers will probably get better as the year goes on, but I also think so will every other team in the NFC West. So that's it for today. We've almost gone an hour. I only wanted to go 30 minutes, but I had a lot to say. I'm not going to lie. This was truly a terrible showing by the Niners. Yeah, that will be it for the show tonight, guys. I'll play the outro, and then we'll get the hell out of here. That's the sound of a clown, and the Niners are clowns. Good night, everyone. And SpongeBob.